From the front page of the Yonkers Statesman, August 11, 1916. Headline: Parrot Annoys Neighbor. That parrots must not be allowed to whistle before 7 o'clock in the morning within the limits of Yonkers was the decision of Acting City Judge Madden in court today when he directed Chester Schwartz of 15 Riverdale Avenue to keep the bird quiet before that hour. This particular parrot is a real nice one, as it has never been taught to swear, and Schwartz always throws a blanket over its cage to mute its whistle when he goes out in the morning. This he maintained stoutly, despite the assertion of Charlotte Neal, the complainant, who lives in the house, that whistling goes on there all day. She declared she was nearly a nervous wreck as a result of it. A peculiar feature of the evidence before the judge was, however, a contention by Mrs. Neal that it was not the parrot that was doing the whistling, but Schwartz himself. Every morning at 5 o'clock the whistling began, and her rest had been disturbed so much that she positively was distracted. Schwartz thought Mrs. Neal should know the difference between the whistling of a man and the efforts of a parrot. He said that when Patrolman Michael McGrath served the summons on him, he whistled for the officer, and then the parrot whistled, and McGrath said there was no similarity between the two whistles. Quote, "I don't see why anyone should mistake you for a parrot," unquote, remarked Acting Judge Madden. Headline: Republican candidate speaks on protection and preparedness. In his tour through North Dakota yesterday, Charles E. Hughes, the Republican candidate for the presidency of the United States, made half a dozen car-end speeches. At practically every place, the candidate discussed the necessity for a fair protective tariff. Quote, "I stand for the principle of protection for American interests. We have before us the great drama of a world contest, the final ending of which will present to us a crisis in our economic life. Our opponents have long stated that they were opposed to a tariff for the purpose of protection. I believe in a protective tariff to secure economic independence. Our opponents, who for generations have told us that it was contrary to the Constitution of the United States to have duties except for the purpose of revenue, are now telling us that there is an economic revolution, and perhaps now we can have a duty on dyestuffs and a nonpartisan commission. I believe in trusting those who really accept the doctrine of protection to the interests of America." Unquote. Headline: Baseball players now and then. The old controversy as to how the baseball players of today compared with those of the past is still in the ring as lively as ever, and the settlement of the matter appears to be as far distant as when the discussion first arose. The latest to get in the game is Bid McPhee, one of the great ball players of his day when he covered second bag for the Reds. Bid, of course, stands by the boys of his time and feels that they had rough sledding when compared to the snaps that the denizens of the diamond have in these piping times of big salaries and world championships. "In my day," says McPhee, "we never thought it worthwhile to carry more than 11 or 12 players. Our pitchers never complained if it was necessary to work every other day. In fact, the games were longer, and they actually had to pitch more balls. They never complained of a sore arm or a bruised finger. Of course, there are more ball players now and more competition, but there's more of a disposition to spoil and pamper players." And that's the news from Yonkers 100 years ago today.